Hello and welcome back to the Health Habit Podcast. I'm Maria Bellavia, your guide to simple nutrition for lasting wellness. This episode is going to be extremely tactical, potentially one of the most tactical episodes that I've yet to release on the podcast. And the topic is meal planning. This is such a major struggle for so many women, and it is almost embarrassing to admit, but I was trained to create meal plans and still struggled to put it into practice in my daily life. And I'll tell you exactly why. I was overcomplicating everything by trying to make it perfect. Perfect nutrient levels, perfect macronutrient balance, perfect timing, perfect portions, perfect sourcing. The list goes on. And that kept me stuck for a ridiculously long time until I finally gave myself permission to keep it simple and to not worry about it being perfect. It's a novel idea, right? Just to release the pressure. Episode 43, we talk about the mind-body connection and how building a grounded, healthy mindset around food by shifting out of pressure and into presence unlocks the floodgate when it comes to strengthening our long-term consistency. And I just really want to highlight and say this super clearly. Most women do not fail at meal planning because they lack willpower. They are failing because they're rebuilding the system every week. We specifically dove into this topic and how rebuilding our meal planning system every week is keeping women stuck, quietly draining all of their energy. And the solution, my friends, is to make a simple one-time system that you can just repeat, automate. So if you've been listening to the past few episodes, the beginnings of our little mini series on meal planning, and realizing that you don't actually need more information, but what you need is structure that you can actually live with, a system that you can actually replicate long-term because it's simple, it's easy, it's convenient, it's fulfilling, all of those important things. That is exactly what we build together inside of Wellness Consistency Coaching. Literally by the end of call 1, you walk away with a personalized meal plan. But today, I'm showing you how to begin creating that meal planning system for yourself. So let's get right into it. The first thing is our bodies need regular nourishment in order to thrive. Food, nutrition is how our body gets all of the energy and nutrients that it needs in order to run our daily operations. All of our physiology is reliant on food. So the more that we can provide regular nourishment, the better off our body is going to be. Of course, there are so many nuances that you can get into with nutrition, but at its core, we just want to provide food to our bodies on a regular basis. We can make it that simple and deal with all of the what do I actually eat later. So a lot of people do really love intermittent fasting. For the sake of this meal planning system, we are going to break it up into breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can space those meals however you would like, whatever feels good for you in your life. But the most ideal situation is you are going to have regular meal times. So you can kind of factor that in, but for now, we're just going to focus on the meals. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, and also a snack. So you can start by literally writing breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack on a piece of paper. For enough variety that we're not necessarily eating the exact same thing every single day, although there is a time and a place for that level of simplicity, we're going to pick 3 meals, 3 breakfast meals, 3 lunch meals, and 3 dinner meals. Then for snacks, I would pick just 1 or 2. Just keep it incredibly easy. When you are actually going through and finding the recipes, be so brutally honest with yourself. Do not pick a recipe that is way out of your wheelhouse, that isn't truly realistic for you to do on the regular. These 3 meals are going to be your default meal planning system. So you're going to be making them a lot. If you are busy, a lunch meal can be as simple as a yogurt with a bunch of add-ins, like a delicious parfait. It does not need to be overboard. Make it realistic for your life, something that you can actually imagine yourself cooking on a regular basis. On those weeks or those days where you're feeling super amped up and you want to go a little above and beyond and make a new recipe, you can do that. You're not married to these 3 meals for the rest of your life. You're just setting up a baseline system that you can automate. We're taking all of the decisions, all the chaos that can come along with meal planning when you are researching recipes, picking recipes, making grocery lists, going grocery shopping, and then cooking. We're simplifying all of that. 3 breakfasts, 3 lunches, 3 dinners, 1 grocery shopping list that we can repeat every week. Hello, simplicity. Hello, realistic systems. And then once you have those 3 breakfasts, 3 lunches, 3 dinners mapped out, you can pick 1 or 2 snacks. And that's it. That is literally your base system. From there, I would suggest 1 of 2 breakdowns for your day to day. So for those 3 breakfasts, there are 7 days of the week. So I would say have 1 breakfast 3 times a week, the other one 3 times a week, and then 1 just once. So 3, 3, 1. You can do that same thing for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner. 3 times a week we're having meal 1, 3 times a week we're having meal 2, 1 time a week we're having meal 3. Or you can also break it down 3, 2, 2. So 3 days a week you're having meal number 1, 2 days a week you're having meal number 2, 2 days a week you're having meal number 3. Which breakdown you pick truly does not matter. It is personal preference. If you want an absolute default, go with the 3, 2, 2 for maximum variety. And that is literally it. That is our framework, the absolute baseline for a one-time meal planning system. No weekly chaos, no 1,000,002 decisions. Your default meals are there and you just make them up. But if you're listening and thinking to yourself, okay, Maria, this sounds amazing, but I know myself and I probably will not sit down and actually take the time to build this. You are not alone. In a few weeks, I will be hosting a live virtual training where we will build this system together. By the end of the call, you will have your meal planning system done. Not researched, not brainstormed, but completely done. Once you have your meal planning system created, you have an incredible tool at your fingertips. But most women don't get stuck with building the system on paper. They get stuck on sustaining it when real life starts moving. The days where you don't sleep well and you wake up with just less energy, less capacity to uphold your goals and your rhythms. When you poorly time your meals or you skip a meal and end up having a major energy crash because of that. When you consistently don't balance protein across your meals and your immune system suffers because of it, giving you less energy and less capacity. These are the realities that can negatively impact how consistent we stay with this beautiful system that we've created. So what are we to do? The system that I have outlined in this episode is simple on purpose. The best thing that we can do is keep the framework simple, but add in personalization because your life is never going to fit into a template. So we add the personalization. We sit down and we think about all of the factors that can come up, the schedule changes, the sleep interferences, the social disruptions, the travel weeks. We personalize it all, and that's where real transformation happens. So if you want help building this system, personalizing it to your real life, the current reality and the future realities, instead of trying to force your life into a template. That is the work that we do inside of Wellness Consistency Coaching. It is where we take things deeper. We develop the systems, and then we design the tools that you will need to confidently adapt the system to any life circumstance. We make the changes, the goals, the systems, and we bring it into our life at an identity level depth. That is how you sustain things through the messy reality of life. If you are ready for that level of support, head to thehealthhabit.net or click the links in the show notes. As a final summary of this simple meal planning system, you are going to grab a piece of paper. You're going to write breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack. Brainstorm 3 breakfasts, 3 lunches, 3 dinners, and 1 or 2 snacks. And then assign them to each day of the week using a 3-3-1 or a 3-2-2 breakdown. That's our simple, repeatable system. If this episode has helped you, send it to a gal pal that also would like a simple meal planning system in her life. And I will see you all next week for the next episode of the Health Habit Podcast. Goodbye, my friends.